Okay, everybody, this is Joseph P. Farrell. It is Friday and time for our typical weekend fireside chat. I'm looking here at my screen. I'm doing this a bit differently this weekend to make sure that I can record and save things. I've been doing it on YouTube lately. But anyway, I think we're good. Um, I've got a few things on my mind. I've been asked when we're going to get the members area of the website up. And I talked to Daniel earlier this week, and we are looking at having it ready to go in about 2 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks. That doesn't necessarily mean we're going to have it open for subscribers because we want to have things in there to make it, to make it worthwhile to subscribe, and that means I've got to do a lot of work. So what I'm doing is I'm doing a paper right now on something that I think is very significant, and I'm doing an ebook. I'm involved in two other major projects, and I'd ask everyone's prayers on those. And then I'm writing, on top of all of the other stuff, I'm writing two additional books. So we hope to have that up probably, I would say, in a couple of months with enough stuff in there to make it worthwhile. There is a chance that as we add more value into the site that the membership fee might go up a little bit, but right now we're looking to add value to it first. And the other thing that I get sometimes a lot of comment from people that follow ufology, and I've said many times, I'm not a ufologist. I do not deal with the subject. I read about it. It does interest me. I do have a lot of books about the subject, but other than Roswell and the Reich, I haven't ever really addressed the subject per se. I have spoken at UFO conferences, and people have emailed me from time to time, and I got an email earlier this week asking me what I thought, what my experiences were at UFO conferences. And to be honest, I had a lot of fun. Um, there's there's always a certain segment, it seems, at those conferences that are probably best described as wearing tinfoil hats. But I remember at one of these conferences, I forget which one it was, there was a lady with bright orange hair sitting in the audience, and she had these a barrette in her hair that I couldn't see. And I had started my presentation, and I had looked up out over the audience, and I saw this lady with this bright orange hair, and she had two little alien eyes on the end of these springs sticking up over her hair, and all I could see were these eyes bobbing around. So if you watch that presentation, I'm always looking that way or that way, but I'm never looking at her because I'd lose my control. But anyway, no, I've had a lot of fun on them. I have met true believers at UFO conferences, and in fact, I met a famous ufologist. I could say this gentleman's name and everybody would instantly recognize it. But I met a famous ufologist as I was setting up my book booth at one of these conferences to sell my books. And this gentleman literally kind of marched in, stopped directly in front of my booth, pivoted like he was, left face, started picking up my books without any introduction, without, extending his hand, introducing himself and say, "Hi, my name is such and such, and you are." And it was just literally straight into the interrogation. And he picked up a bunch of my books, and he kind of looked down his nose at me, and he says, "You don't really think Nazis explain all the flying saucers?" And I said, "Well, of course not. For one thing, there's too many flying saucer sightings, I think, for that to be even close to the truth." But and then he says, "Well, it's one thing to have all the theory, and it's another thing to have the engineer." And this went on and on. He was clearly not interested in what I had to say. He was clearly not interested in anything I'd written because it challenges the extraterrestrial assumption. Well, anyway, he puts the books back down, And again, without introducing himself, without saying anything, he pivoted on his heel and he walked away and never said another word to me during the entire conference. And I get that response a lot. It's one reason I guess I react so emotionally to the idea of disclosure, to people always asking me, well, don't you think that the Nazis could have had a crashed craft and recovered it and reverse engineer it? And that's been my persistent point. I have a methodology that if I cannot rationalize the physics that I see involved in some of this technology, then I go or will entertain the idea of an extraterrestrial explanation for something. But in the case of the Nazi bell and some of the other technologies that they were researching, you have a clear method, you have clear ways that you can rationalize the Nazi achievements and accomplishments in these technological areas without having to invoke ET or crashed and recovered reverse engineered flying saucers. So that's kind of my experience with UFO conferences. I forget the lady's name that asked me that. It was actually last week sometime, and I didn't save the email. But anyway, that's been my experience. In all likelihood, oh, there's one more thing I wanted to mention about the website before I sign off here. Um, Daniel and I have been talking, and I guess that's kind of the reason I brought up the subject of UFO conferences. Daniel and I have been talking about perhaps doing online internet conferences, maybe once every 2 weeks, once every month, a kind of a video conference where you can interact directly with me. I present something, some sort of talk or presentation, and then give time for people to interact. And we're thinking about having little events like that. They'd be subscription sort of events, but we're thinking about doing that sort of thing too. So, we've got a lot of ideas bubbling in our heads. If you have ideas, you have subjects that you want to see discussed, please, once again, don't hesitate to email me because I have been reading comments. I apologize. I simply anymore, we've had, since the new website has been up since the first of the year, we've had over 50,000 hits just in the last 3 weeks. So needless to say, I can't keep up with all the comments that people have been making on Facebook. I can't keep up with all the comments and emails that everybody's been sending me. I do read them all, but I'm simply unable to comment and respond to each of you individually. But I do want to thank you all for stopping into the website, for giving me your comments, for posting things on the Facebook page, and so on and so forth. I wish I could comment to each and every one of you, but I simply don't have the time. But I wanted to let everybody know that I am grateful. All right, that ends this fireside chat, and I hope I managed to get this thing to record. I'm doing it a slightly different way this time. So we'll see if I got this thing to record, and then wish me luck that I get it uploaded. And I'm a computer klutz, so if this all works, then it's good to go. And I might be doing another one of these if I get some interesting things over the weekend to comment about. I might be doing another one of these little fireside chats. But anyway, another weekend has passed us by, and we'll see you on the flip side, everybody.